Today in crypto, are we about to see the big hype run coming up for the Bitcoin halving? Well, a few huge buy signals say that we might just be in for some massively bullish price action for Bitcoin. And more the world over, people are using Bitcoin as the life raft to escape the shackles of their failing fiat currencies. The Crypto Lark, this is where you subscribe for all of the hottest and all of the latest happening out there in the wild, wild land of crypto. And if you are new to crypto and you still need help getting over all of the basics like what Bitcoin is, how and where do you buy it, how do you store it, how do you send it, how do you mine it, and really just all of the tools that you're going to need to start investing successfully, then check out my course, Cryptocurrency Explained. It is designed for beginners to help you confidently start investing in crypto. You'll find a link down below in the description of this video where you can learn more. Also, before we jump over to the charts today, I just have to mention my channel has been getting savaged this month by YouTube. In total, 11 videos have been removed over the last month. This is a direct result of the new COVID-19 YouTube policy, which basically is just mass flagging thing. And this issue only really began with my channel when those new rules for COVID-19 came into effect that essentially made the YouTube AI much more aggressive, and thus a lot more videos are being pulled down. Now, in every situation, the videos have been brought back on appeal to YouTube. But as I'm sure you can imagine, it's very frustrating. I know a lot of you have been coming to watch videos or being cut off halfway through a video because the AI has killed the video. But if you do want to watch a video and you find yourself in that situation that it has been removed, then just a reminder for everyone out there that I do upload all of my videos to Facebook, and I also upload them all to Library. So you can find them over there too if you're halfway through a video and it gets pulled. Hopefully when things go back to normal after this whole crisis situation is over, this YouTube issue will be solved. So hope that's going to happen pretty soon. Now with that out of the way, let's dive into the charts. Bitcoin has had a nice little breakout from what was really a crazy weekend of just super tight sideways action. And at the time of recording, the breakout candle has not yet been confirmed, but if it does confirm and it does hold above this breakout line, then we can probably expect more bullish momentum coming into the market to form up as more traders enter the market on confirmation of that candle breaking out. What I'm really looking for, though, is Bitcoin to just crush that 200-day moving average. And if the price can now close above $8,000, which is where the 200-day moving average is currently chilling, that's the purple line on the chart here, by the way, then that would be super awesome. But I would expect a lot of resistance at that level and possibly even a few failed tests of the $8,000 line or the 200-day moving average. But if the Bitcoin honey badger wakes up, then all talk of resistance could be off of the table. So keep that in mind. Now over on the weekly, we have had week after week after week of green candle closing, which certainly has been looking very nice. Although this could actually be moving us towards a formation of an ascending wedge, which as we know is a bearish chart pattern. Now that could trigger right around the $8,000 mark and bring a very big price correction in, so keep aware of that. However, the weekly MACD is getting very close to hitting a bullish crossover, so that's something to be excited about. One more week of bullish momentum could actually push us up into that zone for that bullish crossover. But as always, this is not actually valid until that cross happens, so we must wait and see how that plays out next week. However, if it does happen, then you can see that historically a bullish MACD cross on the weekly has had very good consequences for the price of Bitcoin. But in spite of all of this just really bullish looking market structure we see setting up, the Bitcoin Fear and Greed Index is still showing that the market participants have not yet moved past the shocks of March. A lot of PTSD out there in the Bitcoin markets, I think. Extreme fear is still the dominant market sentiment. So really take everything right now with a bit of a grain of salt, as the wider market structure globally is still dominated by uncertainty, massive job losses, massive bailouts, and all that stuff. You guys know the story. We've been talking about this for weeks. But there is one final indicator that I wanted to discuss with you that has just flashed a massive buy signal for Bitcoin. The hash ribbons. This indicator is showing that now is the time to buy Bitcoin. Now, the indicator has been very reliable in timing breakouts in the past. In fact, the last 3 times that the indicator flashed buy, Bitcoin surged by 45%, 280%, and 3,200%. Thus, this buy signal should not be casually ignored. We could be setting up for a very big Bitcoin rally here. But one thing to keep in mind is that the last halving, the hash ribbons actually did flash a short but brutal capitulation signal just after the Bitcoin halving. As you can see in the chart here, the price dropped by around 27% in the weeks following the halving. So that happened before we got that buy signal that then led us from a price low of $480 a Bitcoin just after the halving to $20,000 18 months later. Very fascinating stuff. And the Bitcoin halving, it is getting closer and closer by the day and by the hour. And while the day itself, yeah, it's probably not going to be super exciting, the event, though, the impact of it is leading to a huge amount of activity on-chain. On-chain fundamentals show that the active Bitcoin addresses have increased by 8.93% in the last week and 19.47% in just the last month. Transaction counts are up as well by 5.1% over the last week and by 14.74% in the last month. And the number of active entities, or the number of active addresses on the Bitcoin network, has also jumped to levels not seen since July of 2019. And as you can see from the chart here, we are just on the edge of a massive bullish line break for this metric. There's so many metrics lining up. All the stars are coming together. Oh man, I'm so excited about Bitcoin. In case you guys can't tell, I'm very excited about all this stuff. And really just the future of the entire crypto economy. What an exciting market to be in, and what an exciting time to be in that market. Just think about it. In 15 days, the annual inflation rate of Bitcoin is going to go from 3.65% down to 1.8%, which is approximately half of the global annual inflation rate, and actually puts Bitcoin very close to gold, which has an annual supply increase of around 1.5% or so of new gold being taken out of the ground and from mines and put into circulation. Institutional interest in Bitcoin is also starting to trend upwards again after we saw a very low for that just after the crash, with nearly $600 million in Bitcoin futures volume happening over on the CME. And of course, we had that big announcement last week that Renaissance Technologies, a hedge fund valued at around $166 billion, is going to be entering the Bitcoin futures game over on the CME. Not really excited about that kind of institutional player going over to the CME for Bitcoin, but you know, it's happening, and it definitely says a lot about the seriousness of Bitcoin. I find players like Grayscale much more interesting since they're accumulating Bitcoin versus just playing on the price. These hedge funds in the future markets, not a lot of time for them. But the entry of institutions into the futures game at this particular time does show that in spite of the wider market pains that we are seeing, Bitcoin is seen by these players as an area of opportunity, and they want a piece of the pie. We're also seeing massive volume surges all around the world. For example, Chile has just hit a new all-time high on volume for Bitcoin traded, as Chileans are fleeing the Chilean peso amid worsening economic hardships made only worse yet again by the pandemic. And Chile's not alone. It's Colombia, it's Mexico, it's Peru, it's Brazil. They're all seeing huge surges in Bitcoin Bitcoin purchases as their local currencies are facing increasing pressure and uncertainty. But nowhere is this more apparent than in Argentina. The volume of Bitcoin traded in Argentine pesos has risen dramatically over the last couple of weeks, because the country is now facing a possible default on $65 billion in foreign debt. The Argentine peso has already been hard hit by inflation and capital controls and really just economic uncertainty for Argentina. This current crisis, just the nail in the coffin for the Argentine economy and for the Argentine peso. And yet another default. This is not Argentina's first default. It's happened many times before. It's just going to crush the peso and people's livelihoods. Flee the peso or lose your wealth. Bitcoin is the escape plan. More and more we see people losing faith in these institutions, in these central banks, in these governments, and taking their financial destiny into their own hands. Take this great story from Russia. Russians have withdrawn more than $13.6 billion in cash from ATMs just in March, not counting for any of the numbers from April, which we don't have yet. That is more than all of 2019 combined, by the way. But the Russians weren't just hoarding cash. Bitcoin volumes on local exchanges have also seen significant volume increases and also a lot of new user signups. People know about Bitcoin and they buy Bitcoin in times of certainty and in times of crisis. And Russians know very well the reality of bank runs and of supply shortages. The ghosts of the Soviet Union collapse, they remain very vivid in the minds of many people. This is something I learned from many years of living in Russia. There are parents who grow up in the world of breadlines, and all the Russian millennials, well, they all grew up in the economic turmoil of the 1990s in Russia, which was a very, very harsh period. So there remains a very healthy suspicion of the system and of the banks. Don't be a victim of circumstances. Be prepared for any eventuality. Cash, gold, Bitcoin, but Bitcoin more than anything else, it is the best life raft of them all. It's global, it's permissionless, backed by the most powerful computer network the world has ever known, and you can carry it in your pocket and no one even knows it's there. Personally, stacking sats, chilling, super excited about the current market momentum that we have building up, but hey, it's Bitcoin, anything could happen. Those are, of course, just my two Satoshis. Your question for today: how excited are you for the Bitcoin halving? Do you think that we are on the verge of seeing a big pre-halving price run? Or do you think not much is going to come of it and we're still just too dominated by fear and the really wider economic crisis for it to really matter what Bitcoin's doing in the short term? Let me know down below in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching today's video. As always, you are super freaking awesome. So thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to come over here and listen to this dude here talking about cryptocurrencies on the internet. Thank you so much. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button as well and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Long live the blockchain. And peace out till next time.